as we are in Chodesh Nisan, and we are starting a new Sefer Vayikra. And famously known that when you pick up the Sefer Torah and you show it, right, what is the one thing that stands out to you when you look at the first word of Sefer Vayikra, Parashat Vayikra? There's a small letter Aleph, and we talked a lot about it. This was the first time I saw an interesting idea from Rav Elbaz, who brings it down b'shem the Baal HaTurim, who says as follows. Listen to this. So we all know why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't write Vayikra. Vayikra means Hashem spoke to him personally with love, and Moshe Rabbeinu was a man who was an anab, who was humble, so he wanted to write, this is the way we always understood, he wanted to write Vayikar, right? He chanced upon him like the way Hashem says in describing Hashem talking to Bil'am. And Hashem said, no, you can't write Vayikar. I love you. I don't want you to be like Bilam. So Moshe sort of made a compromise and made a small Aleph. The Bali Turim has a little bit of a interesting Hosafa addition to this story. Listen to this. He says that for every parasha in the Torah, as Moshe Rabbeinu was writing it, Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu the exact amount of ink needed. All right? Moshe received the ink precisely. And he wrote every single word and every single letter, and it had exactly that amount. Now, happens over here, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't want to write Vayikra. He doesn't want to write Vayikra. He wants to write Vayikra, but he says, I can't, because if one letter is missing from the Torah, what happens to the Torah? Pasul. So he says, I can't make a pasul. If I'm missing a letter, it's going to be pasul. I don't want it to be pasul. So he goes ahead and he says, I'll write it, but I'll write it small. Okay, so he writes it with a small aleph, but the letter is there, so it's still kosher. All right. So then he brings as follows. Hashem shows up, and Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Why is there ink left over? Meaning, I gave you enough ink to write Vayikra with a big aleph. So Hashem says to Moshe, I see that there's leftover ink in your quill. It must mean you wrote less than what I told you to. What's going on?" HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what Moshe Rabbeinu was really thinking. So Hashem took the remaining ink and he spread it on the forehead of Moshe Rabbeinu. And due to this, as a result, to this extra ink that was not used to write the word Vayikra, right, with the small aleph, that went to Moshe Rabbeinu's forehead, and that's why his face was shining. Another reason to why his face was shining, yes, last week we talked about Shabbat, we talked about the Matan Torah, and everyone else had the chait of the egel, so their shine went away, Moshe Rabbeinu kept. But according to this idea of the Baal HaTurim, Moshe Rabbeinu's face was shining because he humbled himself. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu took that remainder ink and put it on Moshe Rabbeinu's face. Moshe Rabbeinu merited this lofty light emanate from him due to his great humility. Lesson? What's the lesson? So he told you the story. So what's the lesson?
The lesson, how did he ride in the mountain? There was no Sefer Torah there.
No.
There was stones.
The lesson from the story, not the question of what he did. The lesson is, the more a person lowers himself, the more he attains greatness. The more you're trying to elevate yourselves, then Hashem puts you down. You have to be humble, like Moshe Rabbeinu, to an extent that you could be. When a person lowers himself, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu raises him up. Moshe Rabbeinu was merited to be loved, cherished, and favored by Hashem. So much so that as the parasha starts, Vayikra El Moshe. The first name mentioned in this sefer is Moshe. Then Vaydaber Hashem Elav. We usually say Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Lemor. Not this week's parasha. Vayikra El Moshe. First Moshe. Why? Moshe was humble. When you're humble, you get picked up. When you're a Baal Gaiva who's trying to go around and show himself who he is, what happens? He goes down. As we know, the Yalkut Shimoni teaches us, Whoever flees from honor, honor pursues him. Right? Whoever runs away from kavod, kavod gets him. Right? So you know the famous story, right? So this guy goes to his rabbi and he says, Rabbi, I've been running away from honor for a long time, and the honor never catched up with me. I've been running away from it. You know what was the answer? So Tzion says. So the rabbi says to him, no, the rabbi says, the problem is, you're always looking back. Yeah, you're always looking back. When you run away from honor, honor runs after you. But if he sees you looking back, he doesn't come after you. He's running to the side. You have to not look back. Like, I don't want any honor. I'm very humble. I'm humble. Then you're looking around. Who's thinking I'm good because of that? Right? That's that story with that guy that they said, they knew he was a big learner and stuff like that, but he didn't have such great midos. And he was trying to make himself a bigger anav than he was. So there was a community event or whatever, and they spoke about this guy. He was there. And I say he's a big Baltztaka, he's a big man, he's an Adam Gadol, and he learns a lot. He learns at least 9 hours a day, right? He's a big anav and this and that. And in the middle of the speech, he stops. He said, I just want to let you guys know I learned 12 hours a day, not 9. Okay? So, it took away from what you were trying to make there. If you think about it, in this week's parasha and almost the entire Sefer Vayikra, it deals with korbanot, right? With bringing sacrifice, says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What are the most of the sacrifices made out of? What do you bring? When I say korban, what do you think? An animal, right? Why? And a lot of the korbanot come because of sins, because of person sinning. Person act like an animal, which means he didn't use his intellect, right? And he's supposed to lower himself. A person is supposed to lower himself when he's bringing the korban. The whole idea of the korban, like we do today, l'mashal, lahavdil, kaparot, right before Yom Kippur, the Chachamim tell us you should think when you're waving the chicken, all my sins go on it. When the shechted, this is how I should be killed. You feel that. That was part of the korban, is to be able to lower the person down. In fact, listen to what the Gemara says about somebody who is haughty, somebody who is a Baal Ga'ava. It says, a pasuk in Yeshaya, Marom v'kadosh eshkon ve'et daka ushval ruach. Right? I abide in exaltedness and holiness, but I am with a despondent and lowly of spirit. Hashem says, I live up top, but I'm with the one who is lowly. What does this mean? Rav Huna v'Rav Chizda, Had Amar iti daka. Together with me is the one of low spirit. Meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings up the one with low spirit. Hashem brings him up to him. Someone who is a anav, somebody who is humble, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings him up. But Hadamar, in the other opinion, Rav Chizda says, Ani et daka. Hashem doesn't bring him up, rather Hashem goes and lives with him. So I don't know which one is better. Hashem brings you up to him, or Hashem comes down and is with you. Regardless of which way you want to go, you see the greatness of somebody who is an anav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu either brings you up to him, or he comes down to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to associate himself with somebody who is an anav, someone who is humble. In fact, the Gemara here also says that this is Amar Chizda v'Yitem Amar Ukva Kol Adam sheyesh bo gasot haruach. Anyone who has a haughtiness of spirit, someone walks around Baal Gava, Bini Bala, he walks around me. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu en ani v'hu yecholim ladur ba'olam. Me and him, we cannot live in the same world. There's no space.
Or he fills up with himself. The world.
He's not the person that's supposed to be here. Who fills up the world?
Pushing Hashem out.
Who fills up the world with his presence?
Me.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Nobody.
The whole world is really filled with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if you're filling yourself up, you're filling your presence on this world. Wait, where's the HaKadosh Baruch Hu then? Exactly. The whole idea is to humble yourself, to allow. They ask the question, where is HaKadosh Baruch Hu found? Right? People ask, where can I find HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So you ask a child, they'll sing the Uncle Maishi song. Up, down, right, left, and all around, here, there, and everywhere. That's where he can be found, which is entirely true. But when they asked a Hasidic Rebbe once, where is Hashem found? What was his answer? Wherever you let him in. Wherever you let him in. Right? Because that Kadosh Baruch Hu's presence is on this world. Maleh Olam. He fills up the entire world, but you have to let him in, right? You have to be there to accept it. And this is the idea of being a humble person. And this is what this parasha is starting off with. Vayikra el Moshe, korbanot. It's all about humbling oneself. In fact, if you think about it, a lot of times sins happen. People make averot when they're Baal Gaiva. This is me. Who can talk to me like this? He starts a fight. He starts a fight with this one. He does all sorts of things because I can do it, right?
But sometimes you have to do this. People are gonna walk all over.
So Gabriel says very good. He's talking about the self-confidence versus the humbleness, which is very important to realize. Rav Tzaddik talks about this as well. Many talk about this, which is basically, it's not a stira. It's not a contradiction between being humble, and being self-confident. Meaning, as follows. If somebody who's really a nobody, right? Someone's really a nobody. There's no such thing as a nobody. But let's imagine someone who, let's say the Russian word for him, noshut, right? He's a nobody.
It's not Russian.
Okay?
It's a
Bukharian word. Fine. I don't know the languages. So, he's a complete loser, right? And he's humble. Is he really humble?
He's no shoot.
He is who he is. Right? He's a nobody. So he's a nobody. Humbleness doesn't come from the fact that I'm a nobody. Humbleness comes from the fact that I realize that everything I have is from my Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's no need for me to flaunt it or for me to think that I'm someone special. I'm here doing the will of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Let me get to this. Hold on one second. Listen to this, I will tell you. He writes over here that Moshe Rabbeinu, we say he's the most humble, right? Hashem writes in the Torah, Moshe was the most anav me'od, right? He was the most humble of all people. How Moshe Rabbeinu is the most humble of all people? This is what Moshe said. Moshe said, Ribono shel olam, you chose me to take me up to the heaven. You gave me Torah. You're the one who made me holy. Is there anything here that is mine? Did I do anything to deserve it? If you would have chosen someone else, they would have done it. If so, what do I have to be a Baal Ga'ava about? That was Moshe Rabbeinu's thinking. Everything's from you, Master of the universe. In what way can I see myself as distinguished? So the Hatam Sofer asked his students, if this is true that Moshe Rabbeinu is saying that I'm nobody special, so then, and anyone Hashem could have chose everyone. So what taka is so special about Moshe Rabbeinu? Right? If Moshe Rabbeinu says anyone could have been chosen, but Hashem chose me, so what makes Moshe Rabbeinu special? Anyone is the same thing.
No, we understand that if Hashem chose him, probably he is special, but he kept it.
Exactly. The fact that Hashem chose him and not somebody else. Right? This goes to like, there's a saying. They have sometimes stories about Gedolim, right? And you hear the stories and you're like, this is really true. Did it really happen? Like, did it really happen like this? That he went this way, said that, did this? And my Rebbeim and Yeshiva would say, listen, do they say stories about that about me and you? No. They only say stories about such wild, great things about these great people. So these wild and great things are about these great people. They're not about us. So they see who is those stories told about? Gedolim. They're not told about me and you. So they Gedolim or Gedolim. Well, you have questions on the story, fine. But who is it said about the end? The greatness of our Gedolim. Moshe Rabbeinu was humble. Moshe Rabbeinu showed us the importance of being humble. In fact, the Gemara in Ta'anit says, Torah is compared to water. In what way? Besides that it makes the whole world grow and the whole world be sustained. The Gemara says that how does water work?
It goes where the lowest place is.
Exactly. It starts from the top and it goes to the lowest place and it keeps going lower and lower. If you want to learn Torah and you want to be a Talmid Chacham, what do you have to do?
Push yourself low.
You have to make yourself anav. Anav. You have to make yourself humble. Kalecham. When a person does this, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Torah, goes into you. But if you're walking around me, the Torah can't fit because you're too high up. The Torah is lower. You got to put yourself lower.
Sometimes people do lower and still the Torah is not coming to him.
Still not coming to him. He has to go lower, you show. He's not low enough. He's not low enough then. Listen to this, Rabotai. Listen to this. Oh, wait. This is wrong. Hold on. 1 second. Here, listen to this Gemara, Rabotai. Look what it says over here. Amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. Said Yehoshua ben Levi. Bo ureh. Come and see. Kama gedolim nemuchei haruach lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How great is that one of lowly spirit to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Somebody who's an anab. Look how great it is.
This is a rabbi who saw the sword of
The Malach HaMavet. Okay. Shebesha'ah shebet HaMikdash kayam. From when the Beit HaMikdash was there, Adam makriv olah. A person would bring a korban olah. Schar olah biyado. He would have reward for bringing up a korban olah. Korban olah was one of the korbanot that went completely up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mincha, if you brought a mincha, schar mincha biyado. He would have the reward of a korban mincha in his hand. Avami sheda'ato shefala. This is Rabotai. However, in the case of one whose attitude is humble, mi sheda'ato shefala, someone who is low, someone who is an anav, ma'aleh alav hakatuv, ki'ilu hikriv kol korbanot kulam. And as if you brought all the korbanot. From where? Shne'emar, as it says, a pasuk in Tehillim 51:19, Zibhei Elohim Ruach Nishbara. The sacrifices of God are broken spirit. Somebody who is a humble person, Ki'ilu Hikriv Kol HaKorbanot Kulam. Every korban is considered brought by that person in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And not only that, listen to the end of this Gemara, this piece. Velo od, ele she'en tefilato nim'eset. Somebody who is humble, his prayer is not despised. Meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to his prayer. You want to know why people go to Gedolim for prayer, to ask them to pray for them? Because Gedolim they're humble people. So when they pray, they look at HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens. If a person walks around, he thinks he's someone special. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't listen to him. Shne'emar, lev nishbar v'nitkeh Elohim lo tivzeh. A crushed and broken spirit, God will not despise. You know, they say about Moshe Feinstein, that a person would come to say, Daven for my family, this and that. He would take out a Tehillim. This is the Posek Hador, right? Everyone came to me. Take out Tehillim. He would pray and pray with tears and stuff like that, and then he would stop. And when he would stop, people would know that the person he prayed for already got better. He had such a connection. He was so humble of spirit that when he prayed, he knew his prayer got answered, and he knew that person was fine, and he stopped there. An amazing, amazing responsibility of us to humble ourselves a bit. Humility brings fear of God. The Korbanot, Sefer Vayikra, the second pasuk. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'amarta alehem. Speak to the Jewish people and tell them, Adam, a person, ki yakriv mikem. What does ki yakriv mikem mean? Ki yakriv mikem means when he brings mikem from them. From who? Mikem can also mean from him. It talks about bringing a korban la'Hashem min abakar or min hatzon, takrivu et korbanachem. But Chachamim want to say, ki makriv mikem, when a man brings an offering from among you, can mean a part of himself. You have to bring yourself as a korban. You have to make yourself a korban. Shlomo HaMelech says, listen to this in Mishlei, the reward of humility, a person who is an anav, is fear of Hashem, wealth, honor, and life. A person receives 4 things, says Shlomo HaMelech, for being humble. You ready? 4 things. Yirat Hashem, wealth, kavod, and Haim, and life. If a person is a anav, he's humble, he gets fear of God, he gets wealth, he gets honor, he gets life. Wealth. What does it mean, wealth?
Wealth,
Bagasto.
bagaço. Wealth.
Ah. So very good. We know the Gemara says that a person who has 100 wants how much? 200. Person who wants 200 wants? 200 wants one. Person who has... He wants... Hold on. The person wants 400, wants 800. 800 wants 1,600. He always wants double. That's what the Gemara says. Okay? Now, however, there's a Kohelet Rabbah. There's a Midrash that says, a person does not leave this world with half of his desires fulfilled. He doesn't even get half. But think about the math. Chazal tells us, you want 100, he wants, if he has 100, he wants 200. If he has 200, he wants 400. He always wants half, more. So he just wants half. So he already has the half. That's why he wants the next half. So how is Kohelet Rabbah saying he doesn't even pass away with half? So Rabbi Elbaz explains, he says, no. The Gemara says, when the Chanim tell us, he has 100, he wants 200. It's not that he has 100 and he wants another 100. He has 100, he wants plus 200. He has 200, he wants plus 400. Not that he wants up to 400. He wants plus 400. He wants 400, he wants plus 800. So this way, he never even gets half.
I think it's coping mechanism. When you're busy with something, you know something well, so you go ahead and do it. It's not about money. It's about the process.
You're saying in what regard?
In regard to the people don't do, I mean, he has million, 2 million, and more. It's not the money he wants. It's the process. He's just involved in it.
So we're talking about a guy who wants it. That's his desire. He doesn't need it. It's not that it's the process, but somebody who continuously wants. But what about a person who's an anav? Somebody who's simple, somebody who's humble. What does Chazal say? Ezehu asher. Ezehu asher. Hasamech behelko. He's happy with his lot.
But what about his wife and children? Yeah, he's happy. What about his
All right, I'll take a moment to answer that question. Okay, so hasamech behelko, ezehu asher hasamech behelko, does not mean a person doesn't have to try to make money. That does not mean that. That doesn't mean that. That means a person did his gestaltus, person did what he's supposed to do, right? And he did his stuff, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him that money. And with that money that he has, he can get by. He's sameach behelko. And if he can't get by with that, and he thinks he needs more, so he needs to do more, whatever extra work he has to do. If he needs it for his family, a person has to get up and do what he has to do for that. No one can sit down and say, I'm sameach behelko, and let my family rot because I'm sameach behelko. That's not true. That's not what was said over here. Okay? Here was being said, a guy has, okay? But he needs a little more, he can do a little better, but he has what he has. Hasamech behelko. And even if a person doesn't have enough, he has to realize hasamech behelko. But he has to go about and do what he has to do. He has to go to stuck organizations, he has to go and try a new job. I'm still happy with what I have, but I have to do my hashtadlus to do more. It's not contradictory. It's not contradictory. It's Gabriel, you hear me?
No, it's
Wait. You ask a good question. You got to listen then. Okay. So what I'm saying is, it's not contradictory. The fact that someone wants more, right, and someone who's happy with his lot is not contradictory statements. Meaning, like as follows: a person makes, let's make a family of 4. Okay, you got parents and 4 kids, so a family of 6 total. Right? They need, let's say get, let's say $10,000 a month. All right, let's throw out numbers. Just throwing out numbers now. Okay, so you're saying it's not enough. The guy's making $10,000. It's not enough. All right, what's it not enough for? He wants to pay for
mortgage, tuition,
all right, very good. So this is what he has. So he first of all, he has to be happy with what he has. That's a sameach behelko, number 1. Then he has to get the practical, right? He has to pay tuition. So he tells the school, I have a mortgage, $3,000, $5,000, whatever it is. They do care. They do care. Don't say they don't. They do. All right? You fill out those forms that they ask you to fill out, and they give you a tuition break. I get the tuition break, so I can tell you they care. You fill it out. Now, what we want free tuition. So anything they charge us is a problem to an extent. Now, you do your child there. If they're asking you to pay X amount, you think you can't, you talk again nicely, and you get to an agreement. And even if you feel that you can't pay that, and you have to take it on, you've taken it on. Then what you have to do, you have to reach out. Maybe there's an organization that can help you. Maybe there's programs you can sign up to. Maybe there's another job that you're supposed to take on. Maybe the wife can put on something. Maybe there's an online selling or something that you can do. The person has to do what he needs to do for his family, for sure.
You're not gonna have time.
You will.
I'm working until 6 7 p.m. and then I have to do my studies during the night time. I have to work and the rabbi gonna come to shiur. I'm sorry, I'm busy. I have to do my studies now. So Torah choknam.
So very good. That was the Torah's question. The Torah's question was to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if everyone's going to be busy working, when are they going to learn Torah? So we have Shabbat Kodesh, but not only Shabbat Kodesh and Moadim, a person has to be Kuvei Itam. A person has to make it his business to learn Torah every day. Because the Jew without Torah is not a Jew.
What's the limit of the learning?
Whatever he can do. Whatever he can do. Whatever he can do, but he has to be honest with himself. Okay? First thing he has to do is pull out his iPhone and go on to how many hours he spent on his iPhone. Okay? So if it says on your iPhone that you spent 10 hours on it, and then you tell me you with my hashtadlus and everything else, I had no time to learn Torah, it's not going to be excused. But if you tell me that my iPhone says I only spend it in an hour or two, and then the rest 12 hours I was actually working, then this is something else. But if you tell me I can't learn, but then you have time to waste on the computer and you have time to look at everything else, then I'm sorry to tell you, excuse is not going to work. Okay, now that you got me sidetracked, let's go back to the topic at hand. So the idea is a person has to be sameach bechalko. He cannot have an unsatiated desire for more and more money, because some people do have that, a desire that cannot be satiated, cannot be filled. Whatever they have, they need more, they need more, they need more. That's the person we're talking about here. Person who's really struggling, he's struggling, and we're going to help him as much as we can. We're going to do what we can for him. He's going to do what he needs to do. There's two different conversations that we put together. Hopefully there was some clarity on that. Now, another idea, I will tell you. I'm going to tell you, there was a great rabbi, and many of you heard his name. If you didn't, now you're going to hear it. His name was Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Zecha Tzadik Lebracha. Rabbi Akiva Eiger, one of the greatest Rabbanim of Europe. He lived in 1761 to 1837. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, say it again.
1761 to 1837.
So this Rabbi Eiger related to him?
I don't remember any of
So
them. I don't know. I don't know if they're related. Rabbi Akiva Eiger was one of the great Rabbanim of the previous generations, and Rabbi Akiva Eiger, all his life, he tried to avoid to become a member of the Rabbanit, member of the rabbis, to become a rabbi for a community. He wanted to learn Torah without getting the responsibility of being a rav of a kehila, of being a rabbi of a community, and he avoided it at all costs. Unfortunately, at some point in his life, there was a fire that destroyed his home, and he had no choice but to take on a job of being a rabbi. And through his writings, you'll see that he writes over and over again, I feel as if Gehenna is open beneath me. The fact that I'm a rabbi and I have to be a dayan and I have to say this, yes, that, no. He writes to many of his friends, please help me out of this prison of being a rabbi. At no point, he writes over again, I don't want to tell people what to do. I don't want to... Such a humble man that when he had to be in a position of power, he felt that it was Gehenna for him to be in a position of power. Some people get a power trip. They're power hungry. But Rabbi Akiva Eiger, on the other hand, tried very hard to stay away from power, and even when he had to be, he wanted out. He tried to find an escape. There's a story told about the Taz. The Taz is a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. Rabbi David Siegel, And there's many stories about his greatness. Maybe we'll say over two if you guys want to hear. One of them is a good story. The next one's an even better story. So we'll say both. Okay. First story is the Taz. His wife would complain to him. They don't have any money, right? So one day he tells his wife, "I found the job." Tells his wife he found the job, but it's in another city. So they get up, they pick up, they go to a different city, and he says, "I got a job in the shul." So she comes to the shul on Shabbat. And she thinks that, what do you mean? The rabbi said he got a job. What does that mean? He's a rabbi, right? She comes to shul and she hears during Kriyat Torah, there's the gabbai saying, Ya'amod, and he's calling people up to the Torah. She hears it's her husband's voice. She looks down and she sees that her husband, he is the Shabbos, he's the gabbai of the shul. So she says to him, "I thought you said you got a job." He said, "I did. I got a job. I need to work. I found job." And she's like, "This is not coveted for you," but that was the man. He didn't want the honor. He didn't want the honor. He didn't want the achrayut. He wanted to learn, and he needed to work. Is in the days of old, from one city to the next city. If you don't have a picture, you don't know who's who. So this comes actually. There's another story told about the Taz, and this is an amazing story. The story goes that the Taz, there was the pogroms in Europe. And unfortunately, it came to his city and he had to run away. And he ended up in a different city and no one recognized him there. In fact, the story goes that the Taz was so excited that nobody recognizes me. Because he says, in my other city, everybody knew me already. And they always came with questions and stuff like that. And they gave me honor and I didn't want any of that. So he said, I'm not going to tell anybody who I am. And I'm going to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Belev Shalem, Lishma, without any kabod. So he did it. He did it, and he was doing it for a while. And again, his wife told him, "We need money. We have no money." So he said, "I don't know." He looked around. He finally saw that they were looking in the slaughterhouse, in the kosher slaughterhouse. They were looking for a menakir, someone who cleans the veins and the gedanosha and all the other things, the fats that you're not allowed to eat. So they need someone to do that. So they posted a sign. Yeah, to do nikur. So he applied. Listen, he's the Taz. He wrote the Sefer on Nikur. Okay? So the Taz gets the position. He gets the position. Nobody knows who he is. They test him and he knows what is going on. In that same city, there was a rabbi. The story goes, his name was Rabbi, they called him Rabbi Tarfon. Now his real name wasn't Tarfon, but they called him Rabbi Tarfon. Why they call him Rabbi Tarfon? Because anytime somebody came with a question to this rabbi, he always said teref. Everything is teref. It's teref.
No, it's better to say teref because he's not sure.
Because he wasn't sure. He wasn't a very learned man. He learned it to an extent, but he didn't know halachot of what's kosher, what's not when it comes to an animal. So he always said teref, teref, teref.
Is that the case?
It's very machmer. So they got his name, Rabbi Tarfon. Now, the Taz is working in the slaughterhouse. So one day, they shacht an animal and they have a question: kosher, not kosher. They don't know. So they tell one of the people working there, "Go take it to Rabbi Tarfon. Let's see what he's going to say." The other guy says, "What's the point?" So the Taz is hearing this, and the Taz says, "Listen, I'm not just a menakir. I'm not just someone who has a nikur. I've also learned some of the halachot. Let me take a look." So he takes a look. And he sees, why says kosher? He says kosher. They said, "Oh, geschmack, we're selling it. Love kosher." They put it out.
Who are you to say this?
He says he knows.
So he stepped over the
So hold on. Another time, 2-3 weeks go by. Rabbi Tarfon is sitting in his study. And Rabbi Tarfon says to his gabbai, says, "How come the slaughterhouse didn't bring anything to ask if kosher or not? They used to come multiple times a week. Where are they?" So the gabbai said, "I don't know. Let me go find out." So he goes to the slaughterhouse and he says to the slaughterhouse, "What happened to the questions? Where are they? Where are the safek? Behemot, where kosher, not kosher? Where are they?" So the slaughterhouse people say, "What do you mean? We have the menakir here. This guy, this rabbi, he's telling us." The gabbai walks over to him. He walks over to him and says, "What chutzpah you have? How can you say what's kosher or not? In this city we have a Mar Da'atra, we have a Rav who's in charge here," and he slaps the Taz. And then he tells the Taz, you have to come with me right now to the Rav. To the Beit Din. They bring the Taz to the Rav. And the Rav says, who are you? Where are you coming from? What? Who gives you permission to answer stuff? He says, listen, I learned, I know some things. He says, in this kehillah, in this community, I'm the Rav. And nobody is allowed to give anything else. In fact, I'm putting you in cherem. In nidui, I'm putting you in cherem. I'm excommunicating you. No, that's not the version I heard. So he left him. He said, you have to sit right outside the shul. And everybody who walks by you has to spit on you. And I have to put you in your place. How dare you go against the rabbi and do your own things here? So you can imagine. Everybody would go by, spit on the Taz. They didn't know him, who he was. And they would say all sorts of things about him. And they made announcements in the community. This guy, a disgusting man. How could he do such a thing? Go against the rabbi of the Kehillah.
And then they saw.
So hold on. The story goes, it was Friday afternoon. A little girl comes running to the Rabbi Tarfon. She has a chicken in her hand, and she has a question her mother sent her to ask, kosher, not kosher. Before she runs in, the Taz sees her. She sees the Taz, so she does what she was told to do, spits on it. Okay? The Taz says, little girl, tell me what you're going for. She says, my mother wants me to ask if this chicken is kosher or not. So the Taz says, let me see. So he looks at it, and she says, I really hope it's kosher because we have nothing else at home to eat. But I'm very scared, says the little girl. I know this rabbi, that everything he says is terif. He's going to make this terif as well. So the Taz feels bad for her. And the Taz says, listen, when you go into this rabbi now, tell him, as you walk in, to take out the Sefer, the Taz, Torah Zahav, and open up to what he gave him the page number, and look on the third paragraph. Just giving you the mashal. I don't know exactly what he said, but to that mashal, and look over there, and you're going to see that this chicken is kosher. So the girl listens to him. She runs into this rabbi's room, to the office. She puts the chicken on the table, and she says, open up the Sefer Kol Torah Zahav, the Taz, onto this page, the third paragraph, third line, and you're going to see it's kosher. The rabbi's taken aback. Was this little girl? She knows so much Torah. She knows halachot. So the rabbi walks up to the bookshelf. You know, everyone had the Torah Zahav. Everybody had the Taz. It was a new sefer at that time. It was a very famous sefer. So he takes it down. He opens it up. He sees Lamaaseh on that page. It says that this chicken with this question is kosher. So he takes the chicken, gives it to the girl, and the first time he says, kosher. The girl takes the chicken and starts running out of the room. And the rabbi says, wait, where did she know this from? I want to ask her. And she says to the girl, stop. She says, I'm not stopping because I don't want you to change your mind. And so she continues running. Okay? She's running. And he says, no. How did you know which page, what to look, what to this? Eliyahu Hanavi come to you. How did you know? So she says, no. You know that guy that we're all spitting at the front door, right? He's the one who told me about this. So the Rav, Rabbi Tarfon, he's taken aback. He goes over to the Taz, he's sitting outside there, in his nidui, in his chayim, and he says to him, again, you're giving somebody an answer? Again, you're saying what's kosher and what's not? He says, but was I wrong? The Rav said to him, tell me right now who you are. Who are you? He says, I'm a nobody. I'm just He says, no. In my capacity of the Rav, the Marad Atra of this community,
I'm the ruler.
I'm commanding you. You must tell me who you are. Sir Rav David Segal, the Taz that says, listen, you're putting me in a hard spot. I don't want to say I am. But my name is Rav David Segal. I'm the author of the Torah Zahav. I'm the author of the Taz. Rabbi Tarfon fainted at that moment. He fainted at that moment. Here he is putting the Taz in Chayrim, not knowing who he was. And afterwards, obviously, they gave the honor to the Taz. But look at the humility of the Taz. Look at the anivus, the humbleness of the Taz. He was ready to sit and be humiliated, but to remain humble, that no one knows who he is, that he can serve Kadosh Baruch Hu Lishma. And even greater is, when did he break character and say, I am who I am? Forced by what? For the sake of a little girl. Sake of somebody else who is poor. Right? It's a big thing. Right? Sometimes we think, my avodas Hashem, I'm not going to break it for anybody. No. When it comes for a fellow Jew, you have to. Listen to this, Abutai. I want to tell you, this actually goes into the next topic very nicely. The people don't realize the greatness of what we have to do for somebody else, and especially for children. Especially for children. We know, Chazal tell us, when you have little children, which sefer in the Torah should you start teaching them? Now, whether they do this in schools or not, is another story. But they want you to start with Vayikra. Why do they want you to start with Vayikra?
No, because
So the children are korbanot. Shech them all. Says the Tzia very nice. They're tahar. Korbanot bring you to tahara, bring you to purity. Children are pure. Actually, this week as I was preparing for the shir, I saw an amazing thing. You know, sometimes we have children who are balaganis, they make crazy, and you would think, how they're tahar? You know, and the sefer that I saw said that even if children make all sorts of sins, they're still considered tahor.
Teaching them where?
They're still tahor.
Where do you teach them? When you say the teacher of children, where? School, home, where?
Wherever.
Huh?
teach what? You didn't say.
Now,
Teach the
what's so important about being tahor? They could teach anywhere, yeshiva, at home, wherever you teach. Teach everywhere. You teach everywhere.
You said that's what's happening today?
In the yeshiva world, I don't know what they start with.
No, it's the suggestion. Teach if you ever.
No. Chazal say you should start teaching children.
I'm talking to him.
Chazal say you should start teaching children with Sefer Vayikra. Because Vayikra is tahor, and children are tahor. Where should this be done? It should be done. Wherever it could be done, it should be done. I know some yeshivot, they actually start with Vayikra, the first pasuk, and they teach that, and then they go to Bereshit. Okay? Because Bereshit is a lot easier for children to comprehend, to an extent, story-wise. Korbanot, you tell them this is an oila, this is a chata, this is an asham, and this. For us it's hard. For them it's not going to be hard. So there is a degree. But the idea is as follows. Listen to this. There was a great tzaddik, Harav Yosef Ades. He was a scholar, a chacham in Porat Yosef. He had a minhag. I want you to listen to this. It's so important. We just don't realize what our job in this world is. Listen to this. Chacham in Porat Yosef. From a young age, this was his daily routine. He wakes up in the morning at 2:30 a.m. Goes to mikveh. He then goes to the kotel, and he would learn there until he would give a shir in the morning to working men before dawn, before alot. Then he would pray at nitz, okay? And this was his routine every morning. Until, you know when? Until his first child, his first boy, turned 7 years old. And then he no longer went to nitz. And he no longer did this routine. Why? Rav Yosef Ades said, listen to what he said. He said that my job was to train my children in prayer. I have no right to go to nitz when my children are not going to pray with me, and they don't see me praying, and I cannot teach them how to pray. My job is to take them to a minyan at a normal time so they can learn to pray. We don't understand. There's another story, said of one of the Rabbi Mutzafis, where he says he used to pray every Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur with a Kabbalistic machzor, with a lot of Kabbalistic intentions. And he said once his child became old enough to come to shul, at the gil of chinuch, age of chinuch, he put away that siddur of Kabbalah. He took out a regular machzor, and he sat down next to his kid and he taught him. Because you have no right to go and be machmir and I'm going to do something great on expense of teaching the children. It has to be done. The children come first. They're the priority. You have to teach them. They're tahor. When they're young, you got to get them. If when they're young, you didn't get them. If you didn't get them when you're young, you lost them already. People say, the Bukharian word, they say, Bache Madeh, which means small kid. It's okay. He doesn't have to go to shul. He doesn't have to learn. When he gets older, he's going to start. He's not going to do nothing when he gets older. It all starts when he's young, when he's a clean piece of parchment. Not only that, that's right, he collects better, he gathers better, he's able to absorb better when he's younger. But not only that, the Gemara tells us that there was a great sage. There was a great sage, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Hananiah. That what was his greatness? His mother took him as a child and left him in the Beit Midrash. The cradle, his bassinet, was there absorbing the words of Torah from a little age. And he became great because of that. The rabbis attribute that to him listening. There's a story told that there was a Rebbe, Hasidic Rebbe, who had a grandchild. The child is 2 years old. The Rebbe comes to visit the family. He sits down with the 2-year-old and he starts talking to the 2-year-old in deep halachic and Torah concepts. Deep. They go straight over this little kid's head. So the mother says to the Rebbe afterwards, she says, listen, I have to learn Torah. Everything you do is Torah. Tell me, why are you talking to my 2-year-old about concepts that are far beyond him? And said the Rebbe, he said, maybe he didn't understand it, but he absorbed it. He's here, he saw it. He's here, he lives it. He hears it. It's going to make him a whole different person. So what do some people do? I'm going to tell you. And then they wonder, what happens to the kids? Kids are little, so they have a boy, right? Kid's little, so he's little. So they take him to all places that are not snua, that are not appropriately women dressed. He's a little kid, so what's the problem, right? But that absorbs in him. You take him to places where what do they do? Well, this is what they do. I don't know if they still do with them, but they used to put the television on, and they put the little kid, who knows nothing from anything, and they give him to watch and listen to all sorts of things. And then you wonder when he grows up, why this guy is a hooligan? Why he's a balaganis, he's a hooligan, doing all crazy things. What do you mean? You start off his life with all crazy musics, with all crazy dances, with all crazy ideas, and that's his life moving on. At the start of childhood, it's so important to talk to your child. The mother says, say Shema Yisrael, to sing Modeh Ani with them. The father come home, teach him Torah Tzivalanu Moshe. Come on the Shabbat table, teach them when they're young. Don't say they're young. That's the time to get them. Remember, the children are not in the way, they are the way. That's how it happens. You have to treat them on a higher level. You have to, even if they don't understand. Right? There's a famous story that's told over. There was this hiker, this guy who would hike mountains. He would climb mountains, mountain climber. And he would climb the mountains, and he would every time prepare and go. And he went to one of these big mountains, very hard to climb. And he spent over a month climbing up. He finally gets to the top, he takes his flag, he puts it down. And as he's putting it down, he sees a little child jumping around on the top of the mountain. So he sees this child and he says to him, how did you get here? This took me years of training. So the child says, I was born here. You see, Shlomo HaMelech was how old when he became Melech? When he became king. How old was he? 12. People say, how could he be king at 12? What does a 12-year-old know?
He was born there.
He was born in the laps of David HaMelech. He was born in the laps of Kiddusha v'Tahara. At 12 years old, he knew more than we know, than we will never know.
How was Moshe Rabbeinu was the opposite?
What?
He was, lap of Hamor, Paro, and he became tzaddik.
Paul was smart.
So first of all, Moshe Rabbeinu, at first, even when he was in the Pharaoh's palace, who was feeding him?
His mother.
And what was his mother telling him when she was feeding him? Torah tzivalanu Moshe, right? She was saying to him, Modeh Ani, Shema Yisrael. She was learning with him. She was already infusing him with all the Torah. And why was he there? First of all, he knew who he was all the time. He was already taught. He felt for his brothers from the start. The only reason why he had to grow up in Pharaoh's palace, the Mefarshim tell us, is because he needed a backbone. right? He needed the backbone to go against Paro. If he was a little Jew growing up in the ghettos and always being pushed down, he wouldn't have that ability to fight. So Hashem set up that way. But from the beginning, he was already infused. He wouldn't even drink from an Egyptian woman. Moshe Rabbeinu, me'betzen kadosh el Hashem. It's, of course, he was infused for kedusha v'tahara. But listen, Rabotai, listen. We all know the Gemara Nidat tells us that the fetus in the mother's womb has a lamp lit over his head. There's a fire there, allowing it to see from one end of the world to the other. And he's learning the entire Torah from an angel. And then what happens when he comes out? They hit him on the mouth, and he forgets it. So everyone wants to say it's the indent over here. Okay, so I don't know. It's what people say. Fine. I know people say that.
I thought it's from Buddhists to roll down.
Now the question really is, why? What's the point of teaching the Torah to the fetus in the womb? And by the way, I once heard from Rabbi Eli Mansour, he said that's why some children are born early, some born late. Why? He says those who are very smart, they finish so early, they come out early. Those who need a little more time in the yeshiva of the mother's womb, they come out a little late. They didn't finish learning yet. They have to review a little more. Okay, so it depends. Now, what's the point of teaching the fetus all the Torah and then he forgets it when he comes out? What's the point? It's the exact same idea. Get them when they're young. Infuse them with Torah. That's how you have Balei Tshuva. Sometimes you wonder how they come back. And they come back so quick too. They learn fast. They do things. How? They already know it. They already learned it. Unfortunately, they were brought up not correctly. But eventually they got to the point, and now they're able to go so fast through it because they have it already. The goal here, Abotai, is for us to realize that we have the Torah in us. We as parents and grandparents, we have to set the tone for our children already when they're young. Don't wait for them to get older. It's so much harder to fix things when people are older. It's sometimes impossible. Think about yourselves. Don't have to say anything. But how many things that we do, the little narishkites, the little nonsenses that come back from our childhood, right? I used to do this, I still want to do it. I used to listen to this music, I used to watch this show, I used to do this, I used to do that. And it stays with you, right? Because as a kid, I did it. Right. Now, eventually, if you're really mature and your spiritual level advances, you'll drop those narishkeit, you'll drop those nonsense. But you see how it affects. You know, Rav Pam Zechatzidka Bracha, he would say, when my child was 2 years old, he said, when he had a 2-year-old, he's 2-year-old, used to run to the shelf, take down a sefer, and he used to say, Abba, Ambam. What's Ambam? The Rambam. His father will learn the Mishnah Torah. He learned Perish Mishnayot of the Rambam. So whenever his father would learn the Perish Mishnayot, wherever he learned the Mishnah Torah of the Rambam, he would take his little child and put him on his lap, and he would hold the Sefer Rambam. So the kid grew up thinking that whenever my father holds the Rambam, he's going to hold me. And what did he come to love? He come to love the Rambam. What about this? What about the father? The father, unfortunately for him, comes home. First he yells, screams, throws off his shoes, puts his feet on the couch, and he has the television in the living room. He turns it on. All minei pritzut, all minei of all sorts of terrible things. And the child sees this, and he tells the child, "Get upstairs. It's not for you." Right? He's still good. He tells the child to leave. Some let the child watch. Yeah. Now, what does the child think? Oh, I can't wait till I become daddy and tell people to go upstairs and watch my own shows. That's how my father enjoys. That's how I want to enjoy. People don't realize, right? Kids sometimes fight with their parents, right? They don't get along, especially when they get into teenagers and stuff like that. The truth is, all that is really them trying to be you, all right? And they're too young to do that. And tension becomes because of that. But they really, really, deep down, they always look up to their parents and grandparents. Now, just Agav, I want to tell you something that I noticed growing up here in America, and you're stimulated with all sorts of shows and stuff like that, especially kids shows. They always have a family element in the show. About my mother, my grandfather, my great-grandfather. They're always associating back to those things. We don't realize how much kids look up to their parents, how much they look up to their grandparents, how much they want that connection. They understand it, because here's another reason. They don't want to believe that they're a random action, meaning two people met up, something happened, someone got pregnant, and a kid came out. No one wants to feel that they're a random action of passion, and now here they are. But rather, that this was a family legacy. I come from something. I have yichus. I'm a Yehudi. I have people that I'm attached to. Dorot, generations of Jews who are Mekabel Torah, who went in the proper derech of Torah. They want that connection. Are we providing it for them?
Yeah,
Yushvo, unfortunately, I got to tell you about the Yushvo. The Yushvo is the last thing that works. I went to Yushvo recently, without mentioning where, what, or when. Yushvo is an askara, askara for someone who deceased.
How do you say it?
Yushvo. It's a Bukharian word. What does it mean? Yeshiva for sitting.
Your side.
Yeah, a yard site. So let me tell you about this Yushvo. Okay, I tell you guys really took me off topic, but I'll talk about it for a moment. So Yushvo, I went to Yushvo. I went to one in Troika. Okay, so it's a restaurant on Queens Boulevard. Now my thing is, when I go there, by the way, I have to drive there, right? So I already start looking for parking right before Yellowstone. Right? I like to park before Yellowstone, the block before, and then I walk. It's a 5-minute walk. It's literally a 5-minute walk. People think it's more. It's not. It's 5 minutes. It takes me to go around my block around Healy and Kernega. It takes 10 minutes to go around. I calculated it. It takes me 10 minutes to get from my house to the shul. It's 5 minutes from Yellowstone to Troika. It's just 5 Queens Boulevard blocks. It's a lot of crossings, so people think it's a lot. Anyway, I get there, okay? The place is bardak, right? It's you can't hear anything. The rabbi, Moshe the rabbi, he's trying his best to get everybody's attention. But people are just coming to eat and coming to talk to their friends. There's no askar, there's no... When I went to my grandmother's a couple of weeks ago, right? When they asked me to speak, I got up and I said, I just have one question for you. I said, why did you guys come here tonight? Just tell me why you came. That was my question to the crowd. So obviously nobody answered me, so I was rhetorical. I said, I'm assuming you all came to show respect to my grandmother who passed away a year ago. So if that was the case, I would request for you to give me 2-3 minutes to speak, say some Devar Torah in her honor, in her memory. Okay? But what happens at the Yeshua is a complete waste of time, if I may so myself.
What?
It's a waste of time. People are just talking. There's they cannot hear the Divrei Torah. It's just everybody comes, eats, and leaves.
What the halacha?
The better way of doing it is the way many great people already started doing it. They make either a shir, they make something in the shul, everybody comes in, they say Divrei Torah and stuff like that.
Your minhag on that your side.
Now what? There's no halacha. You have to make it in Troika and hold 400 people.
Hold on, that's a minhag.
You should make some sort of memorial for the deceased on the day of their deceased.
Every year.
That already you have to look in. Yeah, it should be done in a way that's done. I don't know exactly the parameters of it, but it should be done in a way that that spreads Torah. It has to be in a way that spreads Kiddusha. It's Mikal Shem Shemayim. Shouldn't be that I'm coming to eat fish and meat and go home.
How many years?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. I have to look it up.
Why? Yeah, it's your
I can tell you the minhag is.
Your side, how many? So for the rest of my life,
every year you have to remember your mother.
It's kibbud av v'em. It's kibbud av v'em. It's part of kibbud av v'em to do that. Okay, it's very possible. I don't know. I'll be modeh al emet. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not in that parsha, so I don't know. What I can tell you is people do that. People do every
I
year.
can understand the first
And
year, second year.
people do for their
But
grandparents and great-grandparents. But
okay.
the idea really is, if you want to really talk what the end goal Sof hadavar.
Yeah.
What was supposed to be through this yard through this askara, through this yeshua, is to bring the neshama higher, Mechal Chal B'Gan Eden.
Elevate the neshama.
And the way to do that is
Kaddish.
Kaddish is one way. Divrei Torah. Rav Kamenetsky used to say a very good piece. Rav Kamenetsky said that when it comes on a yard side, people come to the shul and they bring in the morning, they bring something to eat and they bring schnapps, right? So Rav Kamenetsky, Zechzik B'cha, used to say, he said, people forgot the whole minhag. The whole minhag used to be, they used to do a siyum mishnayot or siyum mesechet. And when they did the siyum, they brought food for the siyum. Everybody forgot about the siyum, but they still bring the schnapps and the food. So the whole idea of what they're doing for the askara is all gone. But there is a lot to work on. Baruch Hashem, we're in this world to do something, right? And we have opportunities to help our community grow. And I'll be honest with you, the new generation, Baruch Hashem, have their heads on a lot straighter. Those especially who went to the yeshiva, went to yeshivot, they have their heads on straighter, and they're doing it more appropriately and doing it more correctly. They're doing it b'shem shamayim, doing it to mikashem shamayim, doing it to put the neshama.
You said a lot.
Excuse me. I'm talking to the rabbi.
No, you're wrong. You said a lot.
Let me say what I have to say.
Okay, you have 1 minute, quickly.
When you said they're doing that, איפה אסמכת לכל זה?
It's a good question. I told you I don't know. And I told you I'd get back to you.
So next time,
You answered you.
no, now I know. You didn't
You
know.
what? Twice? You need twice?
Yeah. You said that.
Okay. הגיע הזמן, רבי חיים שם ונצג ברוך הוא זכו ישראל לפיכך יבא להם תורה מצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.